If you're a champion in the UFC and you want to achieve double champ status, you're going to have to sacrifice the one thing you've worked your entire life for, and that's the belt you already have in your weight class. We're seeing it with Islam Makhachev, and we're seeing it with Ilia Komo-Umburo. Now, people are speculating and wondering why Jon hasn't vacated or been stripped of his title, knowing he's been holding up the heavyweight division for the better part of 2 years, and today we're going to be talking about that. You can't find one comment section on X or IG showing any sort of support for Jon Jones in this entire saga and how he may or may not fight Tom Aspinall, the rightful uncrowned champion of the UFC. Jon had that sort of quote-unquote excuse as to why he wasn't going to fight Tom. He said, if I'm going to be fighting this guy who's younger, faster, stronger, I need to be paid my worth. I need to be compensated correctly because he needs the UFC to pay his medical bills. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but you get the idea. And he wanted Deontay Wilder type of money, as Dana White once said, $30 to $40 million. And according to some pundits, people were saying that the UFC is willing to make any offer to Jon for this fight to happen. So he now no longer has that excuse of, well, I need to be paid. It sounds like the UFC are going to pay him, which makes him look more like a duck.
I see quite a few people in here calling me a duck. I'm a duck. Call me a duck. Call me a chicken. Call me a goat. Call me a dog. I'm not in high school anymore, guys. A grown man out here chasing his dreams. It's funny that we really live in a world where being called a duck should affect me. Guys, come on.
This was before the Stipe fight. One fan asked him, in all honesty, Jon, why are you scared of fighting Aspinall? And Jon replied, I know it's hard for a lot of you guys to grasp, but based on his resume today, fighting and beating him would change nothing about my legacy. I would literally be in the same position I am now, the GOAT.
And the Ducks are undefeated.
Right.
Quack, 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 quack.
But Jon, if he becomes the best heavyweight of all time, then it would look great on your resume that you beat him while he was in his prime, another fan said, which is a great point, by the way. And Jon said, if he becomes the best of all time, then calling me a duck would make sense right now, right? Way too early. My challenge to him, build a career like mine. Winning 5, hard enough. 17, I seriously doubt it. Again, this was all before the Stipe Miocic fight. I get it, Jon's been through wars. He's been through so many hard training camps. He's pulled out of a few fights in that time frame. But right now, and even a year ago, he was showing every excuse as to why he did not want to fight Tom Aspinall. This is becoming McGregor versus Chandler-esque on, all right, is the fight going to happen? Is the fight not going to happen? And people are tired of waiting. But just when you think it couldn't get any more interesting, it does.
Sipping on coconut. Talk about when you gonna fight.
Then Jon posted something very interesting on X when people were saying he doesn't want to fight Tom. Yes, otherwise you'd have to vacate the belt a long time ago because you don't plan to fight Tom. Jon said, y'all barking up the wrong tree. I told the UFC my plans a long time ago. I have no clue why they haven't shared them yet with you guys. And in case you haven't noticed, his profile pic is a duck, truly leaning into that. Only the UFC could turn the best heavyweight in the world into a TikToker. What exactly are those plans, Jon? Why can't he share them with us? Is it because he's out doing that Russian version of The Ultimate Fighter that we can't find out what it is? Or is it because that everyone in the world, even his biggest fans, think that Tom will absolutely mollywop Jon and smack all the booger sugar out of his nose? But Tom is sadly the odd man out in this situation. I know Tom didn't predict this. I don't think anybody predicted this when it came to Tom winning the interim title. Many people thought, all right, Jones is going to come back, beat Stipe, and that fight with Tom is a done deal because every time there was an interim champion, it was a foregone conclusion that they would be unifying the belts with the undisputed champion. But now we're getting delay after delay, excuse after excuse from Jon. I'm sorry, but if he's considered the GOAT and we're holding him to this highest of standard, he needs to be fighting all challengers. All challenges when it comes to who people think can beat Jon Jones. This is probably the first man universally by all MMA fans, casuals included, where people are saying this is the guy that can for sure beat John Jones. Not any single one of John Jones's other opponents were held to that standard. Not anyone else in the entire career of John Jones was touted as this guy can for sure beat John Jones. Tom is that only guy, and John doesn't care one bit. Now, Tom's on record saying, I don't care about John Jones. I just want the belt, which is the biggest bunch of bullshit I ever seen. And here's another reason why he's fucked. He does care about John Jones. That's the only fight to make in the heavyweight division. You look at the top 15 of the heavyweights. You have Tom Aspinall. Who's he going to fight besides John Jones if this fight doesn't happen? Cyril Gane? Okay, that's going to sell 10,000 pay-per-views. Alexander Volkov, a guy who he's already beat, yeah, that's going to sell 11,000 pay-per-views. Sergey Pavlovich, a guy who he's already beat, that's going to sell 12,000 pay-per-views. A guy he's already beat again, Curtis Blades, for the third time, that's going to sell 14,000 pay-per-view buys. Jailton Almeida, dude can't strike. How are you in the UFC when you can't strike? This ain't 1993 anymore, dude. Sergey Spivak, that's going to sell nothing. Marcin Tybura, that's going to sell nothing. Derek Lewis, okay. If it was Derek Lewis of 5 to 7 years ago, yeah, I'd be excited for that fight. Tai Tuivasa, his career downfall needs to be studied because I thought he was going to be one of the hot prospects or the next big thing in the UFC, and that guy can't win a fight now to save his life. You got Waldo Cortez Acosta. Who?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Shamil Gaziev. Who?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Mick Parkin. Who?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Taliesin Teixeira and Martin Buday. Who the hell are those guys? Call me a casual. I do not care. But why are people calling John to be stripped when, okay, let's say for the sake of argument he is, who is Tom gonna fight that is remotely interesting? The heavyweight division is as bad as Selena Gomez. The heavyweight division is as horrible as Diddy. I don't even know what to do because, yeah, keep John with the title. There's no other fight to make other than this fight now. Tom's career is going to be screwed either way because John gets stripped, he wins the title, nobody's going to watch the fight all these other guys that I just listed off. And as far as John, he should take this fight because it's the last hurdle that he needs to jump over, not only to solidify his GOAT case, but to just say he beat everybody they put in front of him. Because he is running scared. It's at a point now where people are going to say he's running scared, even his most diehard fans. People are not saying, all right, after you beat Tom, you need to fight Alexander Volkov. You need to fight Sergey Pavlovich. You need to fight Jailton Almeida. You need to fight Curtis Blades. You need to fight Tai Tuivasa. You need to fight Derek Lewis. No one is saying that. Just do this final fight and you'll be done. That's what will make him the GOAT. But in my mind, he's not the GOAT because he's running away from this fight. And yeah, I do think Tom will beat him. Stipe was tagging him. He's quicker. He's faster. He's stronger. He does not want to take that risk of losing his title to a guy that's younger and has many years ahead of him. I don't know about now because he's waiting so long, but still, he has to be thinking about that. And at the end of the day, I also think that, let's say Tom beats John. John will get an immediate rematch. Let's say he wins that. Okay, you go out on top with the win. You don't even have to do a trilogy. But I don't even think he's even considering that. If you look at Dana White and his attitude towards all this, of course he's going to say this fight's going to happen. That's what any promoter would say about the biggest fight that promotion can make at this point in time. But you look at the layout of what fights and what pay-per-views are coming up for basically the next 5 months. You have Ilya and Charles coming up June 28th. You have the big Poirier versus Holloway BMF title fight, Poirier send-off fight July 19th. You have Khamzat DDP August 16th. Then in September, you can't do John and Tom at UFC Noche. That fight will probably go to Alex and Magomed, but who knows. That leads to the beginning of October. If they're going to do 2 more pay-per-views in October, you have that first pay-per-view in October. Let's just say it'll be somewhere in the US. You could probably do that. Or Abu Dhabi. That fight could also probably go to Magomed and Alex. That leads to MSG Madison Square Garden. It was just said today, JDM wants to fight Islam there. Okay, I could see that fight happening in Madison Square Garden, but I think Tom and John should be happening in November, and that's the all likelihood of when that fight will happen. And then you could do JDM versus Islam in December in Las Vegas, or Conor versus Chandler. I'm just kidding. I still have a glimmer of hope, y'all. I still have a glimmer of hope. I'm just saying, this fight could happen. And the ball's in John's court. And I'm sorry, but if he does not take this fight, that will be 3 fights he's ran from. I've chronicalized every single fight that John has ran from Francis Ngannou to this fight, and now to Cormier. It was announced a few weeks ago that John did not want to fight Cormier at heavyweight because it would have gave Cormier so many advantages. So that's one fight he ran from. Then he did everything in his power to not fight Francis Ngannou because Francis said he was ready. He wanted John to be his first title defense, but John had to get off all the HGH and steroids in the world to not be busted by USADA in order to fight Francis. That took him 3 years. He came back when Francis was out of the UFC, then was barking on the other side of the fence, calling Francis a pussy and whatnot. All right, that's the second fight he ran from. Now this third fight could very well be Tom Aspinall. This will ruin his legacy big time. I get it. His first 4 or 5 title defenses were against former champions. If he would have retired at that night he defeated Vitor Belfort, he would have been the GOAT no matter what. But in my eyes, and I'm just speaking cold hard facts, this doesn't make me a casual. I'm speaking cold hard facts, especially on the state of the heavyweight division. He is not the GOAT. And he doesn't take this fight, he never will be the GOAT. I guess he would rather fight his wife for no dollars than fight a man that the UFC would pay him $30 to $40 million to punch in the face. But I digress.
Teach a man how to squabble.